Hello everyone and welcome to Secret and Girly Creates. Oh, a bit echoey today. Today's episode is a usual Sunday sews of makes, plans and thoughts. So let's get started. So everybody, first of all, let's start with the fact that I am in a similar position but a different position because I want things to hand to show you. Let's start with what I'm wearing, which is my Marlowe cardigan, which I have showed you before if you follow along with me, but I'm pleased that I have finished it. I've put cuffs on. I chose to put ribbing on because I felt that it wouldn't bobble in the same way that perhaps the cable knit might, and also it just gives it a bit more sort of robustness. And it's a nice long length. I'll put a video in anyway. I'm thinking about putting pockets on. Excuse me. I'm thinking about putting pockets on and also maybe a button. I'm not sure if I'll button it up. Underneath I have the Shoutout jumpsuit on, which again I'll put pictures in. This is the fabric I bought from JB Fabrics, so I thought I'd wear those today. I was going to put earrings on but just wasn't feeling it. So let's start with what I've been up to. So since I last saw you, I made the Shoutout. If you followed me for a while, you'll know I also made a banana one, and my first toile was in this fabric, which was from both of these from Rainbow Fabrics. I don't think the fabrics are going to last particularly long, but I wanted to make some in some cheaper fabric to see that if it would work for me, and also to work out any fit issues. And these are perfect for wearing at home with long sleeve top underneath, jumper, roll neck. But I can just, you know when you can feel a fabric and you can just tell. But that's okay because I'll get plenty of wear out of them before that happens. Now that I've made myself a slightly more glitzy one, I am going to make myself a fourth one, which will be in this gorgeous fabric from Pound Fabrics. It's a stretch jumbo cord and it's got 4-way stretch. If you follow Christine of Gemini Stitches, she has made sort of a jegging and a jumper in this and a sort of a rust colour. So do hop over and have a look at Christine's channel, because she loves this fabric too. I think Pound Fabric has still got it. I definitely think that the Shoutout jumpsuit is one of those ones that I'm going to play with. I've already thought about, can I make just the trouser part? If you go on the Deer and Doe website, they have blog posts with hacks like making the legs wider, calf adjustment. I think there's someone on there talking about how they made it. I also googled Shoutout jumpsuit hack, found someone had made the bottom part into a skirt but still kept the lovely pleats. So that's an idea that I want to try. And as I say, I thought about, do I want to make trousers? And so I did them in some Ponte. I was concerned, would I need elastic in the waistband? And I really want to find, as any of you who follow me know, my go-to staple winter trouser. And I did wonder if this might be it. So I used this fabric here, which is a green, sort of a tealy green Ponte from Legend Textiles. I think it was £1.99 a metre. So that's perfect for hopefully a wearable toile, but if it ends up being a non-wearable toile, it's not a huge waste of money. And I sewed these up on Friday night at the virtual social. And hello to everybody who came. It was lovely. We had a great time. We talked about all sorts of things. And we discussed great places to buy fabric, in person and online. We talked about cover stitch machines, all sorts of things. So while we were doing that, I sewed these up because I'd already cut them out in my batch cutting. I will put a video in here of me wearing them and a photo, so I'll just shift this way a bit so you've got space there. What I would say is I'm amazed you don't need the elastic in the waistband, and thank you to Mandy who was on the virtual social. She said she'd made some and didn't need to put the elastic in, so I was hoping it would be the same for me, but obviously it depends on what fabric you choose. And she was right. I would say that the jumpsuit, where the waist falls on the jumpsuit, is perfect, but as a trouser it's quite a high-waisted trouser. I'll put it in here with the top on so you can see how high. And then it has a tendency to fall to my natural waist, and then you get like the baggy crotch area. So I thought there's two choices. One is to reduce the crotch area a bit, or bring the waistband down a bit. So I folded the waistband down to see how that would look, and I've decided to bring the waistband down a bit. If anyone else has hacked the Scirocco into trousers, I'd love to know which version you did, because for me, at 5'2", although I've got a normal sort of length body to perhaps a slightly longer body, that's too high-waisted even for me. I don't mind a high waist, but even for me, that's just too high. But I'm delighted, and that won't be the last pair, because they are just as comfy as the jumpsuit. I think they're just as flattering, which is what I was looking for. And of course, in a stretch ponte, there's nothing tight around the waist, no fiddly zips or flies. I can't believe I've left it this long to do it. So I will keep you updated, but there'll definitely be more of those on the horizon. You will today see me shifting about quite a bit. I've somehow irritated my sciatic nerve, and if anyone's ever done that, once you've irritated it, you just got to let it like rest to get better, which I'm not very good at. So that's why I'm wiggling about a bit, sorry. Right, so that's Scirocco made and done, and on to the next plan with that, and another one coming. Let's talk about the Myland Sweater. So here it is. You may have seen it on my autumn winter update. I think, no, I wasn't wearing it, but I shared it. I don't remember what I was wearing. And I've popped up a post on Instagram as well. So I will put a picture in here. I'll move over in here while I'm talking. But I wanted to tell you a bit about it. So I ordered the printout of the bigger size, which started from 14 and went up, because when you buy them, sometimes you have that choice of printouts, or I felt like I did, I don't know, but it came with only 14 upwards. But that was fine, because I'd read the finished measurements, and although it looked boxy, I am often like a 12 or 14. So I thought I'll cut out the 14, the smallest, and then I'll just do really generous seams. Well, even with really generous seams, oh my goodness, it was huge. At the back, it was just so billowy, and I thought, okay, well, the waistband can pull it in, but unfortunately the two fabrics I've chose didn't have a huge amount of stretch to them, so even stretching them as much as I could to pull the boxiness in, it just didn't work. So let me tell you what I did. Down the back, I took about 4 inches out and sewed a seam right down the back, which unless you look closer you wouldn't notice. That meant I unpicked the waistband in a good length at the back, so that then I could shorten the waistband and put it back on. At the front, because the neckline was so big, I put these darts in. You can barely see them. There's one there and one there. Let me show you the inside here. And that just tidied up the neckline, so I didn't have to do anything else to the front. And now I'm really happy with it. I love the pattern, because I love the way you've got this piece that comes around. That means you can play with the colour blocking. And I could have put the white on there and that on there, but I just really liked that. And I love the way you've got that on the back as well, and the different part of the sleeve. So as pattern goes, I think the Myland is a completely different sweatshirt to any other sweatshirt sort of out there. And so I'm glad I persevered with it. I've reordered the printed paper, making sure I get on with the smaller size. So I'm going to cut out a 10, and then I'll share that with you and report back. But it's a really interesting pattern, and what I'm looking for when I'm looking to buy a sweatshirt pattern is not something that's similar to what I've got. I've got the Stella sweatshirt in the Tin in the Button stretch book. I've got the Billy. I have the Freya, which you could easily make into a sweatshirt. I've got obviously the Stella Fibre Mood one, which is a bat wing. So I was looking for something that wasn't of those kind, and it's those extra details. Now, I've seen a lot of people make the Jarrah sweater, and I really think it's a great pattern, but it's too similar to things I've got. If I didn't have a sweatshirt pattern, that is the one I would buy, with the great variation, like with the split sleeve, with the tie edge or the high-low edge and the different neckline. I would say, as a pattern goes, it's a great versatile pattern. So if you're in the market looking for a sweatshirt pattern, I would definitely recommend the Jarrah, and I know a lot of people have sewn it, because it will give you a lot of variation to play with in one pattern. And I'm always looking for my bang for my buck. But for me, I didn't buy it because I already had similar ones to that, and I could easily make a high-low with a pattern I've got. So I chose this one because I forgot to say, even on the sleeve here, part of the design is these darts, and I love all those little details like that. So I think it's a great one if you're looking for a step away from a straightforward. I put a message out on my Instagram asking people what their favourite shoulder was, so a straightforward fit in, a drop, that sort of thing, and it was quite interesting. It's really mixed opinion what people prefer, and I think different ones really suit people differently as well. I'm thinking of doing a whole vlog about sweatshirts and jumpers and how you can play with the patterns you've got. So do let me know in the comments below if you'd be interested in that. I will be making more, and I'm very happy to let you know. I found some free patterns I'm going to try. Thank you to the lovely Ruanne, who before Christmas did a 5 jumper she'd sewn and 5 jumpers she wanted to sew, the Yorkshire Sew Girl. That was really helpful to have a look at as well. But I do think that it's good to look for patterns that give you a bit of variety as well. Right, what else have I been up to? Okay, so I've got a bit of a fail coming up in a minute. I'll do some bit more successes first. On the subject of sweatshirts and things, you may remember before I'd made the Stella Fibre Mood batwing in this fabric. I'll put a picture in here. Well, I've almost finished the joggers of the same name, Stella, but by a different designer, with the Tilly and the Buttons ones. So I'm making the joggers to go with it. Maybe by the time I edit this, it might be the full outfit. And I've also used this fabric, which I got from Flamingo Fabrics when they were selling off all their like in-store stock, because they're moving to only doing like print on demand fabrics or something. I think I've got that right. Tell me if I got that wrong. So I cut out the Tilly and the Buttons Stella, and sorry, it's the sciatica, and the Tilly and the Buttons Stella joggers. They're almost finished as well. So hopefully I can put a picture in there. I since you saw, if you saw my autumn winter update, I've been really pursuing the keep going with the snugglies at the moment. We've got a nice cold snap coming in the UK, so that works perfectly. Now, you may be aware that one of my visions for 2024 was not to leave seams, hems, cuffs unfinished. Well, I worked hard to get into 2024 with as few as possible. That finished on the 3rd of January, my plan, but that's okay. So things that I've done, I've got to stitch it on, but I've pinned on this lovely bias tape from Specky Seamstress that Christine got me in my advent down the inside of this skirt I joined together, just to finish up a messy seam. I have finally done the sleeves on this and the hem. Just got to put buttons on. I've done the same on this. All the sleeves and the cuffs are done, just need buttons. Same as this, sleeves and cuffs are done. I actually used bias binding on this one because I felt it gave a tidier finish, because even trying to double fold this fabric would be too thick, and folding it in once you would end up still with like fraying, so I went for bias binding. So they all just need buttons, but everything else is done on them. And then things that are completely finished now, I've overlocked the join, I've done the hem. This is the Seasons of East Winter in London trousers. I've done the hem now. I've done the hem and the cuffs on this patina blouse, which is from ages ago. I did all the snipping on these 2 frayers, snipping on these, hem on this, and finally took the edges in on that second-hand top. And these, which needed their legs finished, I added cuffs. We'll talk about that in a minute. So I'm really pleased that a big pile of things that I wanted to wear where I just hadn't finished are now finished. And that means I can go into the rest of 2024 trying to make sure I finish things properly as I go along, rather than getting onto the next new shiny project and just leaving one cuff or something unfinished. And thank you for your support on that being my vision. I know it's some of yours too. Now, these are Divide Opinion. These were part of the Sew upcycle in October, what it was. I'm really happy with them, by the way. I know that they're quite a crazy mix of fabric, but they're only really for at home, and it means that 2 skirts that I couldn't wear anymore get used now. but they were too short because of the length of the fabric, and I knew I would do something. The pattern is based on the Closet Core sepia pant, which is a Closet Core crew pattern. So I thought, I know, I'll just put a cuff on the bottom. So I use this grey ribbing. One side is longer than the other somehow, even though I checked. They're too loose and it looks weird. I'll put a video in here. I'm not happy. Even for wearing at home, they irritate me because every time I sit down, these pull up too high and leave a gap between my sock and my leg. And the whole point is with this flannelly brushed cotton is to keep me warm. So this is coming off, and I have got some scraps of this fabric. I'm doing a different kind of finish to these trousers, so I will report back, but I would thought I'd share with you that not everything I do goes to plan. That was a fail, and it's fine because we learn by doing these things. But my goodness, I tried wearing them. You know, I've given that advice of try wearing something you've made, even if you're not sure if you love it, because you might find you do. I wore them for an afternoon of work, and my goodness, they drove me mad. So what is coming up? Well, while you're watching this, it's the weekend I've called for myself trouser weekend, because I've ordered the printout, the AO printing of the Pattern Emporium Walk Boldly trousers to sew in Ponte, the Closet Core Crew new pattern, which is the Onyx trousers. I'm going to do another Scirocco pair of trousers. So this weekend has been a trouser one. I can't share with you a report back yet, but I will do in next week's Sunday sews. So lots of trouser patterns on the horizon, just trying to find that pattern that is my go-to trouser pattern or patterns for the winter. I got this fabric from, I want to say Dots and Dashes or Dots and Stripes. I'll link them below. It's a French terry, but I thought this would make a really great jumper dress because of the pattern on it. And so that I'm aiming to sew up this week. Thank you to, I think it's Sew Stella Style. I'll link her below as well. I was watching her channel the other day and she did a whole episode about jumper dresses. And she very sensibly said, if you've got something like the Billy or the Stella, all you need to do is extend the pattern to make it like a maxi dress. And she's right, and I don't know why I hadn't thought of it. So I'm off to play around with that and try that. And also she was talking about the infinity scarves. Now, if you followed me before in 2023, in November I made an infinity scarf for my mum for Christmas, which I loved, nearly kept for myself, but I didn't, I gave it to her. And Sarah was talking about the fact that if you make a matching infinity scarf in the leftovers of the fabric of a maxi jumper dress, you can easily pop it on with it to create like the more sort of higher neck. And I thought it's a great idea because then your outfit becomes a bit more cross-seasonal, because in the spring when you don't want something up around your neck, you just don't wear the infinity scarf and you've got the normal neckline, but in the winter you throw it on and it looks like it's part of the dress. So thank you for that inspiration. I think that's a brilliant idea. So I'm now probably not going to sew many high neck ones. I will do some, but not many, because I really love the idea of being able to put it on or take it off, because then I get sort of autumn and spring out of the outfit as well, rather than just deep winter. So there we go. That's quite, oh, I've done quite well for time, which is good as well. Questions for you. What top shall I make with this fabric? It's like a plissé, but it's like a jersey and it's super soft. So I'd like to make a top. I thought it would make a great sort of wintry top. I was wondering about having a go at making Seasons of East, Summer in New York, just the top out of this, but wasn't sure. I've got the Adriana top from Friday Pattern Company, so I could try that. But if you've got any great suggestions, I'd love to hear them. And I think it's time now for small channel shout out. So I'm going to give Mandy of Make It So a shout out again, because Mandy has done some amazing content. She is a great member of the sewing community, but her subscribers is just going up really slowly, and I would really love you to help me to help Mandy. So please, if you don't already subscribe to Mandy's channel, please go over and subscribe and give Mandy a little boost. She was on the virtual social yesterday, and she's such a lovely person with a huge amount of sewing knowledge, who's really kind and helpful, and I'd love it if you could help me to boost her up as well. I think I have shouted her out before, but do you know what, that's okay, isn't it? So what else? Oh, I'm just watching two robins fighting in the garden. What else is coming up? Well, if you have missed the news and the excitement, podcast episode 1 that Jess and I did is out. I'll link it below so you can go and listen. Episode 2 will be on not Wednesday coming, but the Wednesday after, so that's Thursday. 17th of January will be episode 2. So I'm really looking forward to you hearing that. This week coming, I will be talking to Yvette on the Stash Hub Stash Chat. So she does like an Instagram live. So that, I want to say, is on Tuesday evening. So can't wait for that. So if you want to see me in chat with, in conversation with Yvette, I'll be on there. So that's really exciting. And I like to finish with suggesting like a Burkle game to play. So over the Christmas break, we played 7 Wonders, which myself and my stepdaughter bought my other half. Never played it before. It's one of those games where on the outside it says the game is about 30 minutes long. I'm always suspicious when they say that, particularly because somebody in our house takes a very long time to decide. Well, the great news is that actually it is a 20 to 30 minute game. We watch a YouTube video. There's this great guy, I'll link him below, who explains how to play the game, and his explanation was brilliant, and it's a really great fun game to play, and it has lots of variation when you play, so you never quite know who's going to win, and it's quite hard to keep track of who might win, which I think is really good if you've got someone very competitive who plays games with, because they have to really focus on themselves. They can't track it, not like watching someone playing Yahtzee or something like that. You've got the 2 sides to the cards. You can play it with a good amount of people, and you can try different strategies each time as well. So it's what's called a deck building game, but I highly recommend that if you haven't played it before. So 7 Wonders, and we bought it from a small business in Oxford called Thirsty Meeples. If you ever go to Oxford, they do a board game cafe where you can actually play games while you're there and try them out, so I highly recommend that as well. There are others around the country, but obviously that's the one nearest. It's not near us, but nearest to us. And then last of all, I watched I watched a lot of films over the Christmas break. I love a movie, but 2 that I thought I'd mention to you if you haven't seen is Elvis, that's directed by Baz Luhrmann. I wanted to see it at the cinema but didn't get round to it, so I watched it over the Christmas break, and it is classic Baz Luhrmann styling. If you remember his Romeo and Juliet, I really liked the styling. I really liked the storytelling. It was incredibly visual, amazing outfits in it, which for us sewists is brilliant. Tom Hanks was brilliant as the Colonel, I think he's called in it, who was like the manager and agent for Elvis. And I thought it was quite an interesting version of the story of Elvis and his climb to fame. So if you've not seen it, that's my recommendation. And the other one is one on Netflix called Leave the World Behind. Now this has had some really mixed reviews, and I love watching something that have mixed reviews so I can see for myself. We have had in the last 20 years probably, and not only then, because cinema's always kind of dealt with post-apocalyptic worlds, or when the apocalypse comes, and we're often just shown people sort of surviving once it's happened, or people sort of going through it. But what we're not really often shown is the beginning parts when we don't know if it's really true. And I think the way that this film shows the beginnings of when, like, they're not sure if it's something or not. And I think unless you were in a major city centre, if you lost the use of your phone and TVs and radio went down, you wouldn't know if it was just a power cut, a hack of like the TV media or something bigger. And it's quite an interesting sort of thought process they go through in the film of who's going to feel like they're overreacting first, or who's going to take things seriously, or what. And I think if you view it from that point, that it's a looking at how we would react to a scenario rather than how should we behave in an apocalyptic situation, I think is a really great way of presenting something that we haven't seen before. I'd be really interested in your thoughts on the ending. I would say my thoughts are that I think it fits perfectly with human nature. I'd be interested in what you think. That means there's no spoiler, but do tell me what you think. And I'd also know what you'd like to think about the film. I think go into it with an open mind, and great acting. You've got Julia Roberts and his name's gone now from my head. I can picture him. It'll come back to me anyway. But yeah, I thought it was really great acting. Mahershala Ali's in it as well, and I'd love to know what you think. So I hope you have had a good weekend and a great week coming. I am not sure what I'm going to present for you on Wednesday this week, where my sciatica has been playing up. My brain's not been working 100%, but there'll be something. Who knows what it'll be, but I'll appear on Wednesday or Tuesday, and I will see you next Sunday for Sunday Sews as well.